Welcome, everybody, to the Righteously Broken Hour. This is where rebels find grace, faith fuels the journey, and God leads the way. All right, here we be. It's always nice to welcome everybody to the Righteously Broken Hour with Rebels Reborn. This is our podcast where we speak about life, love, craziness, brokenness the devil tries to bring at us, but more importantly in that, family, love, and, how to walk in unity. And so we are Rebels Reborn, motorcycle ministry. We are here to serve the Lord, ride some bikes, make some loud noise, and, enjoy ourselves while we do it. And
Amen.
So there's always ways that we can take what we love, find ways to add God into it, and then share it with the world. And so here we be, Rebels Reborn. This is a Righteously Broken Hour. I am President Little King, and with me today is my VP Fuzzy. Also our
everybody.
Also our Secretary Sassy, and then our one and only Bambi.
Hi.
Yes, and so we'll get to how she got her name one of these days, but Bambi has some history there to it, and so do all of our names, but that's the one I think my heart kind of likes the most. But we are Rebels Reborn. We're here for the Righteously Broken Hour, and we're here really to talk about some of the deep subjects, some of the not deep subjects, and, just share a little bit about life.
A little bit of everything.
Exactly. And so for part of that, just to kind of get the ball rolling and open up, here's a standard and a rule that's kind of been going around the world that, we want to kind of set down and change a stereotype to. And one of that is being Christians and, like Jesus, drinking wine. We've learned from Paul that all things have been made right, but that doesn't make everything good for everybody individually.
100%.
So for me, you'll learn about my story. If you want to hear more, I have I go live with Mighty Mondays with President Little King. So if you want to hear more about my story and the chaos that led to it, where I'm trying to get to is what other people may use for certain situations, for medicine, for this and that, we also do as well. I have 7 DUIs. I'm an alcoholic. I do not drink. God has shown me what he needed to remove from my life and why. But I am also a survivor of a traumatic brain injury. Part of another testimony we'll tell you later, but basically I hit the ground head first doing 90, no helmet. So we, as a family, believe and trust in God's medicine, that what God has grown out of the ground helps influence and impact how our lives go. Now, like Paul says, not everything is made right for us. Things are good in moderation. Sometimes things are not good for you at all. And so for me, alcohol is not a good thing. But for one thing, especially after my traumatic brain injury, other people's anxieties, the circumstances or situations medically that we find ourselves in, we found that medical cannabis solves all of our problems compared to the 15 different medications they wanted to put us on at the doctors.
Yeah. I can attest to that.
Exactly.
I was overdosed on meds.
Yeah.
And actually, you had the number right. It was actually 15 meds. We actually got to the point where I went in and I almost took a doctor's head off because he kept putting her on new meds and not taking off the old ones.
Yep.
To the point where she had a medical-induced seizure.
Yes.
In the middle of the
Someone
living
hit
room,
my
almost smacked her
head.
head off the bricks.
Which is crazy, man. I mean, it's amazing the amount of stuff that they'll consider good and shove into your body. Well, for me, after a traumatic brain injury, some of those medicines, like, zombified me. They made me just, like, you can't do nothing, you don't want to do anything, and, it's going to help do this and do that, but the side effects of it all are so much worse. And so, I guess to open the door for part of what Righteously Broken Hour is you're going to hear some lighter strikes. We got us on camera. You might see us hitting the pipe every now and then. For us, it is medicine. For others, it is something that needed to be removed from their life. And for each person's walk with God, that's where it needs to rest and rely on. And I don't drink. I don't do the drugs.
Even in some of our
used to.
people, we have people that don't smoke. We have people that smoke. We have people that drink. We have people that don't even touch a drop of drink.
Exactly. So part of the Righteously Broken Hour is not just to sit here and preach sermons and talk the Bible and do this. It's to talk about real life, to talk about the circumstances we've gone through, the brokenness we've either survived or created on our own, but let alone the things that we've learned that the world would condemn us over. That with our walk with God, we have learned that all things have been made right and that we can trust God. But the purpose behind all that is God taking the lead. Alcohol, all of that, he has removed, and you guys will hear through testimonies, he's removed so much from my life because I used to be that party kid. I grew up in Seattle. I used to rave, do ecstasy, mushrooms, all that kind of stuff. God has removed what he did not want in my life, and he has given me the medicine, the simple medicine that helps resolve what the 15 medications that the doctors would give you would kind of temporarily fix. Now, to speak some spiritual truth into that, in 2 Timothy, Paul speaking to Timothy, talks about, hey, we understand you need to ease the burden of your stomach. He had some stomach issues, some sickness. So Paul told him, go drink the wine, ease the burden of your stomach, right? And so there are medical purposes behind what God has allowed to be created. Alcohol being one of them. Jesus drank. They called him a drunkard. John the Baptist didn't drink, and they called him crazy and demon-filled. And so everybody's walk with God has an individual standpoint that we all need to stand behind. Righteously broken, rebels reborn. We all walk on an individual standpoint. But to open this door, I did not want to surprise somebody with, oh my gosh, they're talking about God, and oh my gosh, they just hit a weed pipe. You have no idea what it's doing for me and my mental health. And even for me, like without smoking, I do not get hungry. I do not eat. I starve myself. So to kind of break the medical reasons down so we can get into all the fun stuff, you will see we are 420 friendly. But like Jesus, we're not drunkards. We're not out partying. We're not out doing what the Bible calls us not to do. Don't be drunkards. Don't be stupid. Don't let it take over your life. We use it as medicine, just as Paul commissioned Timothy to use it as medicine. And just like Proverbs and everything else will tell you, don't become a drunkard. It's not the wine that makes you bad. It's allowing it to take over your life that makes it bad. So just like that, don't be surprised. We are 420 friendly, but it serves a purpose.
Allowing it to take over. Oh, go ahead.
And I do want to just add to that whole conversation, because I literally just had made a post on Facebook, and I just want to read a part of it because it's kind of long. But it says, marijuana isn't the issue. Our response to it is. Are we willing to trust that God, in his perfect wisdom, will guide us and reveal what is harmful in our lives? Over time, he has a way of softening our hearts, removing what doesn't serve us, and even making us lose the desire for things that hinder our relationship with him. But we must also extend that same grace to others. For those who feel the stigma that if they smoke weed, they somehow can't have a relationship with God. We need to remind them of the truth. They just need to come to him. It's not our job to do the pruning. That's God's work. And as they walk with him, he will do the refining, shaping, and transforming. And so just to touch base, I feel like if God has spoke to you and said, you know, I want you to remove this out of your life, we are not condoning marijuana and its use for anything to stop taking all your psychiatric pills and start smoking weed. We are not doctors. But what I do know is that my relationship with God is not hindered because of it. And until he tells me it's not for me, then I'm going to continue doing it. And so,
well, exactly, because for us, it's turned into the standpoint. God has full authority over our lives. When I have problems, when I have issues, when I'm stressed out, when life isn't going right, I don't run to weed or anything else like that to solve my problems. I run to God. There'll be nights I'll sleep with the Bible as a teddy bear until he helps me identify, solve, or grow through whatever that period may be. And this is coming from where our lives, all of us here, come from real history of brokenness. I have 10 felonies, 30 misdemeanors, 7, well, I guess not 7 of those are felonies or DUIs, but I have 7 DUIs. I am definitely an alcoholic. I get a hold of alcohol, my inhibitions change, and it's me against the world again, and I can do whatever I want because screw the world. So God, very clearly, with trial and error and lessons learned and all this, helped remove it. Now, for me, it's the really big aspect is God removed it. God removed it. There are medical doctors and people out there that will tell you there's even something called the Jellinek chart, because Dr. Jellinek created this thing. You're an alcoholic, you drink, you get to this certain standpoint, and then it starts completing this cycle and over and over and over again. Well, what he says is that no matter where at you stopped, the moment you start drinking again, you picked up basically right where you left off. So let's say 3 years have gone by, you were drinking, blacking out, all that stuff. You pick it up within weeks, you're right back to that blacked out kind of state. And so once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Well, let me come to tell you, there are and will be shared testimonies where I can prove the accuracy of what God can do in someone's life. But God not only removed the desire for drinking from my life, but he's also changed the way that when there are times we have a beer, we do this, it changed the way it affected how my decision making happened. You know, a quick little story about this is 4 or 5 years ago, you know, we're walking with God and we have removed alcohol from our lives to a certain extent, but we're going to Vegas. Well, what do you do in Vegas? It's party, you have fun, you do this, but we're making it a family endeavor because we brought our kids. We're not going to the casinos, doing stuff like that. We're there to experience all the other awesome things that is in Vegas. It's not just one crazy crap hole town, but we're down there. And of course, we're starting to have a couple drinks. As soon as I would get to the stage where like my equilibrium felt off, like I almost had PTSD. Like I'm dumping drinks out into the garbage can. And here is the person, the alcoholic with 7 DUIs, been in jail, in and out, all this stuff labeled, the alcoholic. There I am, the most sober one there, the one taking care of the other ones where alcohol might have got a little bit of the best of them that night. But statistically speaking, I should have been the worst. I'm the alcoholic. We haven't been drinking. Here's a free night to party. Man, I should have been not off the deep end. But God, my heart, there was something different that has transpired within it. The alcohol has not only not the same effect to me anymore, but the desire for it is gone. He has taken it away from me. I consider myself recovered, rehabilitated because of God's grace, not an alcoholic in remission. Where I have cancer, but as long as I don't do this, I won't die.
You gotta fight each day to basically not think about it, because it used to have its hold on you where a sunny day would come and the devil would take that chance and squeeze the living hell out of you. So everyone was affected in your life because you couldn't get out of your head because you needed that beer, but you're recovering alcoholic. And so,
and you get frustrated.
It does consume you. And so now, since God healed you, it's not like that. It's more, you know, you don't think about it.
It's not a hindrance.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect you nearly as bad the day you quit drinking, because you learn your personal coping mechanisms, your
God
personal
taught me,
walk.
my God. And part of that comes through the circumstances and stuff too, but the overall desire of it, you know, the intention that starts in your heart, that is where I find the most grace. It's been dissipated. Like she was saying, a country song and a sunny day would ruin my entire day, because there I am, I'm an adult, I work, I take care of my responsibilities, and you got all these people telling me what I can't have. Yeah. Well, it's my life. It's one beer. Why can't I have it? So you really do get caught up in this mix of frustrated at everybody, and it's everybody's fault, and you're an adult, and all these things, and it's torment. And so to live in that torment was miserable, because you know you want to do the right thing. You don't want to screw it up. I don't want to drink, even though you want to drink. And so that freedom that came from when God took it, I'm not a recovering alcoholic anymore. Now I'm a person that doesn't care about alcohol at all. It could disappear for all I care.
You're freed.
Yes, exactly. Set free. And so the glory and the gifts that God can give us by walking and developing a relationship with him is just the key to life. It's the key to every aspect and every part of our life. And so that's part of why we're here. That's part of why this first episode, this first introduction, had to do with part of who we are. We're going to go around, we're going to introduce ourselves, find a little bit about each of our past, things like that. And then as we move forward in episodes, we're talking about life, the struggle, fighting Davids, our Goliaths, and things like that. And, you know, we're just going to live life out. But we are rebels reborn, and we are righteously broken. You know, it's my brokenness that God has taken and made and can use now for his glory. So even the strongholds that the devil used to tear me down with, like weed or alcohol or any of these other things, even though, like Lacey said, we're not condoning it, it's these things that the devil tries to trap us in, God can now use to be and set us free, or to use to help set somebody else free. Because right now, somebody may come across this by accident, and in their heart, they want a relationship with Jesus. They feel like they have one, but you talk to any of the other Christians around them, there's condemnation, and you can't know God, and you're a sinner, and all this stuff. I know, and it's sad. And even Jesus called it out. He called it out. He said, as the Pharisees were giving him crap, I think it had to do with fasting. He was like, why don't you fast? Why don't you people get a fast? This and that. And, you know, Jesus was talking about all these things. Is you don't fast because when the bridegroom's there, you fast after. Well, it's like, he's like, you called John the Baptist because he walked around in sackcloth and ate bugs. You called him demon possessed. And now that I'm here and I eat and I drink with my friends and I marry, you call me a drunkard. And so like that stereotype, even Jesus dealt with it. That rejection, the devil will use any pot he can to try to stir or hinder or break our relationship with God. So if we get this stronghold in us that where the world tells us, oh, you use marijuana as medicine, you can't really know God. That's just the devil and his resiliency on trying to get us to believe that God doesn't truly love us, because he does. And I'm living proof that if God is going to love anybody, I'm surprised he loves me.
And on that topic, it's who better to take the hand and lift up those that are broken than the ones that have been broken.
Exactly.
Amen.
Yep, exactly. And that's a deep subject, and that's basically part of where our little testimonies and where Rebels Reborn comes from and is going, is we absolutely were a rebel. We were. You told me not to push the button 15 years ago. I'm going to push the button just because you told me not to.
No,
now as
partying
a
every
Christian,
night.
now as a Christian, you tell me not to push the button, I'll probably pray about it, but that rebel inside of me still might want to push a button just to see what happens. But God's in there. He's going to help stop me. He's going to help me walk out and do the right thing. But
Help you
we
grow.
definitely were rebels. And so now we are rebels that have been reborn. Now, in that comes the gift. All the broken experiences we've had, all the bad days, all the time I've been in jail or this or that, these experiences have given us wisdom and understanding. We now understand what a broken world out there is suffering, and as the church or other people tell them that they couldn't be loved by God and that they are worthless and miserable and never going to amount to anything, we can go look them in the eye and say, hey, I understand where you're at, the lies that the devil is telling you, it's not real. You are worth and will always be worthy of God's love. And so we don't have to stay trapped in what the devil tries to lie and keep us in. It's now our torment that the devil used in the past has become a gift. Because if I can walk up to anybody and let them know they're not alone and that I understand the storm they're in, that's the biggest gift sometimes we can give somebody, just to let them
Definitely.
know we're not alone. I could be surrounded by you guys and you'll watch me. I get quiet when I'm frustrated and I get alone. The devil shuts me in. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do this. And so it happens, even to the best of them. I've written a book on peace, the formula for God-given peace, but I still have bad days where the devil comes and torments you. And so, you know, learning to take what was broken and allow God, the potter, to glue it and piece it all back together to make something beautiful is exactly where Rebels Reborn stemmed from. Take our brokenness, use it for good.
Well, and on top of that, like, so I have a nonprofit, and basically my whole mission, it comes from my past. I was a foster youth, 10 to 18, and when I aged out of foster care, I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew I didn't want to be a part of the system anymore, and they offered, you know, help for an extra couple years and this and that. I didn't want that. I wanted to be free. I wanted to be 18 and, you know, and so
Out in the adult world.
yeah. And so what I did was basically said, nope, I don't need you guys. I'm out. The day I turned 18, I was in a group home. The day I turned 18, I said, I'm packing my bags and I'm out, like at midnight. And I did.
Yeah.
I literally left
Let
the
me out of
group
jail.
home at midnight. Because that's my rebel. I'm out. I'm 18. It's midnight. I am 18. I'm gone. Like, you guys better figure out a ride for me to get out of here at midnight because I am out. And then
Or I'll walk.
as I went home to my family, back to my family after I hadn't been with them for 8 years. Okay, I was 10 leaving and then 18 coming back. And nothing had changed. Like, it was all the same. And I literally waited my whole life to come back to a broken, you know, dysfunctional family who couldn't even, you know, help me, let alone themselves. And so I'm like, well, let me try college. I looked at the college application and I'm like, yeah, parent, financial, like my mom and dad. I don't even know my dad, you know. And so I'm like, maybe I'll just take a year off. I'll get a job, I'll save. And that year turned into 5 because I didn't have that support, that adult person who cared and said, hey, let me help you fill out this college
Well, not only
application.
that, you have the devil in there at the same time that says you're worthless. Nobody
Yeah.
loved you. Nobody's here to take care of you. You got to take care of yourself. And so that fear,
Yeah.
it sets in that holds us and hinders us from taking steps forward just because of pure uncertainty.
Absolutely.
But all of that is what helped build your ministry. The way you reach these foster
Yes.
youth, and the reason why you do it anyway is because we know what it's like to be lost and alone in that storm.
Yeah.
And so, again,
And so I encourage everyone, like all these foster youth that we mentor now and stuff, they also have a story. And I feel God uses our story not to punish us, not to bring hurt on us or anything, but it's to literally turn back around and give your hand to the next person who needs it.
Yep.
Because he loves us. He wouldn't put us through being tortured and child abuse and all of that. He wouldn't do that. And the devil is
wreaking
very
havoc.
much real as well. But also, God turns that evil into good. And so what we need to do as Christians and as coming to have a relationship with God is take our bad story and go out and help everyone else out of it. Just like someone else might have done for you. And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing, my daughter is starting to go through some very, personal and very
difficult.
difficult situations. And I think
Traumatic
that,
situations. They really are.
I think
Yeah.
that God made it to where, my childhood was similar to what my daughter is going through right now at this very time, because I too was about that same age that she was when all of this stuff started happening. So I think God kind of used that so I could say, hey, I know what you've been through. I've been there. I've done that. I know what it feels like. And I think that made our relationship as, not only mother and daughter, but human beings a little bit closer, because I do know what she's going through. I know how to handle that very specific thing, because I wasn't just the victim, but I was also born into it. Like,
Yeah.
it was even, before I was born that, things were
Well,
done.
and that is the thing with God in his story, is he knows and has every day of our lives accounted for. He knows how many hairs I have in my head right now, and hairs fall out all the time. So him to keep track of all that, I mean, his wisdom and knowledge is so much greater than our own. Learning to see past our own circumstances is the hard part. And so, just like both of your stories, it's inspiring, because it also instantly reminds me of the man that was born blind since birth. They searched his parents. What did you do to create sin that your son should be born blind? Well, and then they asked the son, what did you do? And they couldn't figure anything out. And Jesus tells them, you were born blind for this exact moment, so that through me, God's glory could be revealed, and so that other people could witness and understand. And so it does sometimes take things that we have gone through to help build the understanding for that next person we're going to get to help, save, or influence. And so
100%.
it's all important.
Yeah.
And so really with that, I mean, we kind of jumped down a couple little rabbit holes that says, hey, for one, we like God. For two, we're definitely rebels. We're reborn. But to kind of go around and introduce ourselves, so that way people kind of get to know us, because we all have different backgrounds, and all of our brokenness intertwines with understanding, but different avenues of way the devil did it and to attack us. And so I mean, with the Foster Kids United, like, do you want to share part of you have,
that was,
part of the 10 through 18, but also how, how God got to introduce you. Because for me, I went to a
Yeah.
Christian daycare. You've had to live it out, where God came in and said, hey, here I am, I'm real. And you had felt that
Yeah.
hole, even in foster care, that there was something missing. There was a hole there. There was something. And
yeah. And so to keep going with that story, after I had went back home, I was, I had met a guy who led me down the wrong path. And so basically I had started following my mom's path: drugs, alcohol, homelessness. I mean, was living in my car, and getting abused domestic violence from the man who I married. And so that was a different whole trauma. There was the foster care trauma, and then 5 years of domestic violence and having to deal with that. From there, after basically I got pregnant with my first kid, we had got that baby removed. And so I didn't have
The support
the
system.
support system to even like care. And I mean, that's a whole nother story in and of itself. But he was medically fragile, 3 months preemie, and he was going to need a lot of hospitalization, surgeries, and we ended up getting him removed. And so the same cycle of me getting taken away from my mom and then going through that same cycle of my kid getting removed from me led me down into the spiral. And I wasn't on drugs or anything before this. But after that is when I started experimenting with drugs and became homeless and all of that.
Yeah, you try to find anything to numb the pain and shut the devil up. He is so noisy. He just all the time, that chaos. The Bible tells us that, that still small voice, that's where God speaks, the quietness, noise,
I had
and
that
chaos.
whole, like you said, like basically I didn't know God. God was a subject at funerals. Basically, they're with God. We heard some scripture. My family didn't go to church, and so it was literally at funerals when someone died, that's when God got brought up in my home. And so I had picked up a Bible and kind of started reading it and stuff and went to some youth groups and stuff while I was in group homes, but I never understood it. So I just kind of I don't get it. I'm an atheist. I must be an atheist because I just don't get it. And that's where I kind of stood of I don't believe in God. Not that I actually studied and made a decision for myself. I just wasn't sure and didn't know anything about it. And so I decided to not learn or not go down that path. And so when I basically, after I had left that marriage, I, went on a dating site. Should I get into that whole story?
I mean, we've got plenty of time for future. I mean, people are going to find out all about us. And so, of course, Rebel Sassy, the one who's talking, she is my wife. Her name should be Rebel Queen, and we've been working on different name tag, but God has God has a way
fits you.
of naming
It
us.
fits
Like he named me Little King, part of my name. He named you Sassy, and when you guys get to know her, you'll understand why she is sassy. And so, just like your mom and everything. But
through all of that, though, I met Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really quiet about his faith, really, at first. And, we'll get more into our bigger testimony on another episode.
Yeah, because we have absolutely monstrous testimony about.
But I found God basically through him showing God's love through him. Nothing he did or anything, but God had given him a written promise while he was in jail, and we have been separated. And he told me, it looks worse on paper, but he was getting 10 years like I thought. He was getting a 10-year prison sentence, and I wasn't going to wait around. But he called me and said, it looks worse on paper. And of course, I didn't believe him. And he found God and this and that. Well, when he got out, he had started posting all this God stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you never know the seeds that are being planted.
Of course, you found God. I always had said, everyone finds God when they're in jail. That used to be my thing all the time. And I'm sure some of you can relate.
Well, and growing up with your mom and the cycle of people around your house, that people in and out of jail, you watched it happen.
Yeah.
They would be so good in jail and they'd do this and that, and then you watch them get out, and in a week they're back to what they were. And it's like, okay, you found God. So you watched people they found Jesus in jail.
Yeah. And so basically, but those were the seeds that were planting as I was watching him and his walk and him moving in action with Jesus and him not just posting about Jesus, but actually showing love to me when I didn't deserve it and things like that. And so one day I was like, we should just get back to going to church. And, so we started going to church and stuff. And through one of his biggest heartbreaks with a business partner and stuff, he had found in one of his journals that he had kept in jail a promise from God, basically stating everything we had been already doing, that God would give him back his family, we'd be worshiping God together, because I didn't even believe in God. And so the fact that God was like, you guys are going to be worshiping God together, to me, I'm like,
Well, because even before that, we would attend church periodically, maybe once or twice a month, but it was Sunday morning church. By Sunday afternoon, you're back to everything and
Sinful
chaos
in
you
the
were.
world, yeah.
Looking at the
Back
world
to
for
the
the
flesh.
answers and all of
Yep.
it, you know?
and so to me, that was like, after I had saw that, I had already like surrendered and stuff. But after I had saw that written promise, something changed. Like, it was a whole different ball game for me. And something changed right there, that written testimony, I knew 100% God was real, and nothing would change my mind about that.
Because you had just lived out the prophecy that was written down on paper
Yeah,
over
it
a
was
year before
written
that.
prophecy. And like, so I mean, someone can come and tell me God's not real, but I mean, I have proof. And so
And we
those,
have more stories even that than proof. And so,
oh yeah.
you know, but
And so that's really, I mean, after you surrender your life and just say, I'm going all in, that's when the relationship actually starts. Like, whether you're just going to church, because those times in Washington where we were just going to church and in the world, they still meant something and had a lot of purpose behind them and growth
Mhm.
and, you know,
they
and
did
so
every bit of it.
definitely even all of those times still mattered.
Yes. Well, and just to throw this out there, because I love being her husband, God does things and we have become one person. But part of her testimony, as ups and down as it was, just through just being foster care and learning and all those experiences, her rebel side also came out in other ways where it's a good thing it's not on her record. But she also ended up with a felony for stealing a dog from a pet store. And so, like, it's, you know, and I'll get to
I didn't.
She was a driver. She was a getaway driver.
I was the getaway driver.
She just didn't get away.
I wasn't even the bad guy. And so, like, I didn't even understand how they could charge me with that. I'm like, what?
Accessory.
You were a party
Accessory.
too. You weren't the party.
But lucky for you, you did.
Yeah.
She did the right thing. They gave her deferred. It's not on her record. Things like that. But there are rebel side steps. Wait till you get to one of my stories and stuff too, because I'm
even in
terrorist.
foster care. I mean,
Sassy?
you ask any of my old foster parents. I mean, some of you are on my Facebook, and I'm going to post this. And so comment below how I was, because all of you guys are on my Facebook, but I was a rebel. I was defiant. I mean,
They
you
labeled her
couldn't tell me
troublemaker.
nothing.
Inner file.
Yeah, I
Trouble.
literally was, I had medical diagnoses for being defiant.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I kind of come from a
Rebel
different
fuzzy.
background.
There's a rebel fuzzy too. I just wanted to.
I
As we talk, we got to realize we haven't
Yeah.
introduced ourselves too
Yeah.
much.
Rebel
yet.
Fuzzy. Here for the party.
Yeah, we party for Jesus. We party with Jesus.
Right. But my background, I came from a heavy Christian background. My grandfather was my pastor all the way up until we got kicked out of the church, and I got to see firsthand how broken the church truly is.
Yeah.
His own church,
Yeah.
because the other pastor there wanted to assume that he was involved in my grandmother's death. She fell off a ladder.
Yeah.
From
She
what
was gone
they
before
say,
she hit the ground.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because she didn't even try to catch herself.
Yeah.
She was already gone before she hit the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, God chose to take her so she wouldn't have to feel that pain.
Yeah.
But my grandmother was first female EMT in Montana, first search and rescue EMTs. My family has a long background of search and rescue EMTs. My dad's ex-law enforcement.
Yeah. And so it's there.
Your
I
sister
came.
was a
My sister was an
She
EMT. I came
died
from a
away.
background that was steady.
Yeah.
I didn't have the problem being on the streets unless it was my choice.
Yeah.
And my background came from a lot of fleshly choices.
Yeah.
And
Well, and experiences. We're growing. We want
Oh,
to learn new things.
100%.
And sometimes, for some of us, we like to learn the hard way.
very true.
And so, but there's still wisdom and understanding in that, like how you shouldn't do it that way because it's the hard way.
yeah, definitely.
Well, and how me and Dylan, we went to school together.
Yep.
You know,
And he was a terrorist. You guys hear those stories all the time.
He was horrible.
You know,
He
the
would
old
spank me so hard that I would fly up the stairs. Like,
the old thing about the boy always picked on the girl he liked. That was the truth.
yeah. Yeah, I always thought he was just mean. Anyways, we actually got together in drug classes. I got busted in Cedar Park Homes
Mm.
and had to do classes and stuff. And yeah, that.
And I got
was-
caught because my little cousin, Wrestle, got pulled over and got a no insurance ticket. And I got popped for weed because they wanted to search the whole rig.
Yeah, of course. And back then, the times are different, seasons are changed. And for those of you who need to know, we are in Montana, and so it's
Legal
medical
state.
and recreational. And most of us do have our medical cards. With a TBI, traumatic brain injury, it's pretty kind of, I'm telling you, it helped so much more than anything else has. And so I'm grateful to not have gone down that direction. But yeah, your family dynamic, Rebel Fuzzy, like, you know, having your grandpa be the pastor and watching just the heart that was not in the church's decisions and the way it affected the family. And not only that, the way it affected your outlook over your relationship with God.
I had times where I couldn't go into a church for a decade
Yeah.
without breaking down completely unconsolably. And it hurt.
Yeah.
Stepping into a church felt like it physically hurt me.
Yeah.
And to be able to see
it felt
that
like a slap to the
you
face.
don't need a building
No, absolutely
to
not.
be able to follow Jesus, be able to walk in his light. And it took me a long time to realize that. It took me until being a rebel to really see it. And that's 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And so even in that 20 years, there's a lot of purpose in what God allows for us to experience, like Joseph, you know, from the being pushed into a hole by his brothers till the second command in Pharaoh, he learned things all along the way. And so to have that heart that felt almost rejected by the church, let alone how do you walk back in there, like we're called to walk in love, you know, and so
100%.
We're all broken people. And so at what point do we get the right to start casting the first stone, to the effect that it changes the dynamic of how a family feels about the church? Now,
Yeah.
did it, during that time, I get why walking in the, I mean, I don't completely get, I empathize with how walking in a church would be significantly gut-wrenching, just hurtful. What did it do? How did that situation, what did it do between you and God personally?
I didn't feel that it was God doing it. I felt that I seen the flesh. I seen that it was somebody that wanted to take the top seat. So this was his way to do it.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part. Even within, you know, the MC culture, they call them position chasers.
Yep.
You know, and so for one, that's one thing I'm very grateful for Rebels Reborn. We've learned from experience. We lead from the front, not the back.
100%
You know,
you have
even
to.
our prospecting, the higher you go up within the club, the more of a servant you should be.
Yep.
The prospect is the one to teach how to be that kind of servant, because it's hard loving people. It's hard loving broken people.
Oh,
And so it takes
100%.
time, energy, effort, love. And so that's why just learning through the prospecting avenues, the way we do it, where we lead from the front, even in the reversal aspect where most prospecting, you have to earn your stripes. You have to earn your way up the chain of command. What I have noticed is that both entities weed out the same amount of people,
No, 100%.
because the people that can't walk in love, that can't overlook the slap to the face or the person spitting
words
vicious
that
words, the spitefulness that the church, the people that's supposed to love you, they're called by God to love you, feel like they're rejecting you. So how does all that play into an account with the relationship that we're having with him? You know?
I mean, for me, it kind of went, I didn't feel it was God doing it,
Yeah.
but I let myself completely disconnect from church, religion, spirituality, everything. that was the point I started living in the flesh.
Yeah.
8 years old.
Yeah.
Started living in the flesh because I seen my whole family's world get torn apart.
Yeah.
Not just my grandfather,
Yeah.
not just mine, but my whole family.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, that's exactly the area the devil starts building strongholds. You know, I mean, I can see it in your face right now that the level of weight of that experience had over everything that was your life at that time. But the experience of going through it now, knowing that well, for one, there are people going through the same thing, but like you said, the church is just a building.
Okay.
We're called to go and minister, to go to love. Jesus didn't tell people to come to him. He told his disciples to go out into the world.
Go to the bars, go to the alleys,
Yeah.
find those that are at their darkest,
Yep.
because they're the ones that will truly feel it.
Yeah. And they're the ones that are devils telling that currently in that moment, you're unlovable. No one's going to love you. It's not worth it. And so, I mean, that's powerful testimony, you know, especially the almost prodigal son return of hearing that call from God.
Yeah.
You know, finding that same message that you felt was inspired as the same through your grandfather's heart, the love, the way you connected with people, the reason why is like that we all come together. And so not to prove our worthiness to anything, but to help build up other people who the devil is beating down. I mean, that's
Be able
the
to
point.
show others how to walk in love.
Yep.
When I was at my worst, I was an alcoholic. I was an angry person.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care what your opinion was. If you were in my way, I either went over you or through you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I had a lot to do with that.
300-pound guy, you don't want that coming at you.
No, yeah, you're a big guy. That's one thing about our family. It's crazy. Everybody's
well,
a
and even
monster.
Topher has said, like, and you guys will meet Trunk Monkey, but
Yep, he's our trunk monkey.
he has mentioned the past you and how you used to be and how you are now. And even the fact that you guys even like opened your heart to accept God is amazing. Like it really is, because out of all the people, even you said like, I never thought Trunk Monkey would do
No.
that. And
No,
I
not at all.
honestly think it
Yeah.
softened your heart a little bit too.
25 years
like-
of a friendship with that man.
Yeah.
And me and him have literally been through every darkest point of his life.
And he's got
as well as
testimonies he'll
mine.
be able to share through here. And
Yeah.
it'll rock people's minds. This is just the opening intros. You know, this is to get people interested, and we're just breaking the ice. Like,
I mean, I well up about it every time I talk about it, but it's not a sad or a hurt feeling. It's astonishment. It's the heart opening, because I feel the difference between when I was cold and shutting myself out and I didn't care who you were. I was in it for me.
yeah, you against the world.
Yeah.
That's exactly where the devil wants to put us.
Now that
Us
I
against the world.
Now that I truly care, now that God softened my heart enough to truly care and show that I care, it has made a world difference.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's losing a job or losing money or cars breaking down, blowing an engine, any of it, I am not the person anymore to smash that car to pieces.
Yeah.
It happened.
We don't let the flesh get a hold of us
God's
as
got my
much
back.
as it used to.
God's got my back.
Yep, he will figure it out.
And
And
that's
that's his
been-
promises.
That's been your kind of motto all for 2026. It's like, even when the world's coming at you, like, what are you guys gonna do? Like, you need to figure it out. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I'm working
You're like,
on it.
God's got my back.
God's got it. Yep, God's
And
got
so
it.
that's God. Someone's watching, and it's gonna be a testimony. Just as if when everyone freaking watched us, they're watching you. Someone is watching you. Whether it, there's
think so or
there's
not.
many people around us watching, and so just know that I have a purpose too.
I do want.
One more little thing I want to add to just the dynamic, like I did with Lacey, is the story, and maybe this we'll have to share it again, maybe when Trunk Monkey's here, because he has his perspective. But how you guys even became friends had to do with the laughter of one tripping a whole nother kid without anybody else realizing it, and they were the only two in the world that saw it happen, and they just laughed and laughed and laughed. And you guys were how old?
5, 6.
Yeah. So I don't want to share the whole story because we'll share the better story when the two of you are together. But yes, you guys are definitely rebels. Man, paintball team, all
in
of
a
it.
room of maybe 100 people, and me and him were the only one to see it.
Yeah.
You guys will hear that story eventually.
Yep. That's incredible. Yeah, and then Rebel Bambi, we'll get back just to kind of sharing part of that I love about her name is one of our standards, our rules in Rebels Reborn is if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. And I was born in 85, so Bambi, Sword and Stone, all those movies, those were my movies. So Thumper, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. So in our club, our motorcycle ministry, if you speak outlandishly or you're kind of obnoxious or you're just kind of being a little too fleshly or something, even in joking, like we try to joke nice, lint liquor, that kind of stuff, like try to make it, you can tease each other, but if you get a little outlandish, you get what is called the Thumper patch. And basically it's a patch, looks like Thumper from Bambi, and you got to hang it over your name and title. And so like it becomes this thing you have to explain to other people. Like, hey, why are you wearing a cartoon character on your motorcycle cut? And so it's pretty funny. So Bambi has her name because who is closely connected
She
to
was
Thumper.
the last one out of all of us to come to accept God.
Mm.
And that was really kind of what was holding her back from keeping her to be a part of all our meetings, everything. And so when she finally did, and she did surrender to God and all of that, we're like Bambi because she has a potty mouth. She definitely teases everyone, and they have a
Worse than
very
me.
close bond
Yes.
that
But her heart is huge and she
Yeah.
does mean well. And so it's not to be hurtful or vengeful or spiteful, but still, learning to watch what we say because we don't know how the other person will interpret it. That's the heart of the matter. And so even like with cussing, you'll hear sometimes words being dropped here or there. For one, there are words that didn't exist that we would consider a cuss word today that wasn't around when Jesus was there. But we are learning that we watch our mouth not because it's like some obligation of, it is. God wants us to speak wholesomely and all this, but teasing each other, it's more that we don't want to be offensive or hurtful to anybody else around us. And so if you're around our circle, and somebody dropped the F-bomb, no one here would be offended, but our kids being in the room, they would say something. And so we are all learning to grow to be better people, and that's a process. This is a walk with God. And so it's not about perfection. It's about the everyday little progress. Because for one, today is all we got. And we can either let the flesh take over or we can walk it out with God. And, no matter what happens, He's in control. And it's going to work out according to His purpose.
It is a walk. You can't sprint this.
I in my walk, like we're saying, have come to the conclusion, not necessarily a walk. We are considered the bride of Christ. Well, what do husbands and brides do? They have their first dance. Now, dancing, instead of walking with Jesus, entails a little more. You got to give and take. You got to follow His lead. And there are times we mess up and we step on His toes, or we do this, or we make the wrong turn because we let our flesh kind of get in the way. And so, example biblically of that is like when Peter stepped out of the boat. Had he kept his eyes on Jesus, he would have kept walking on the water, but he looked at the storm. And so this dance with Jesus, we stumble, we mess up sometimes, but it's progress, not perfection. What Jesus wants is us for never to quit being His bride, to never quit trying, to never quit dancing with Him, because the more we grow with Him, the more we read the Bible, the more we just learn who God is and what His heart is after, the better dancer we become. And so it just, for us, it took going through some really broken circumstances to help get the heart that says, I want to love that same person who feels unlovable and is hurting and ready to, possibly take their own lives. And so,
Been there.
Yep.
Been there.
Exactly.
Well, and I do just
There
want to throw
too.
this story out because it is important to kind of like how we met these guys and stuff. And these guys were really worldly and, cussed a lot. And I found myself every time they would come over. Well, Ryan had met them through paintball. So he had went for a tryout and was like, I want to play paintball. And they had a paintball field and stuff. And
Still do.
Still do?
Yeah, we still do,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so he went over there and made friends with them. And he was like, well, Fuzzy has a wife and this and that. And, like I'll bring her over and you guys can, meet and stuff. And so like they came over.
And this is after our monk season, and we'll get into other things like that later, but we had been praying for friends. We had gone a couple years where God isolated just us, and part of that had a lot to do with the building. We'll explain later, but this is after a monk season. And so I went over there. They're across the street, got a paintball tryout. I'm like, ooh, I want to do that because shoot somebody. It'll make it be fun. And so
you
Yeah.
watched us play for about
years,
2 years.
2 years hearing it over there. And I'm like, man, and I played paintball as a kid sometimes. So like, I wanted to be a part of that. Well, I'm not just going to walk over on the property and be like, hey man, like I'm going to start playing with you. But they had this tryout. So that's what got me there. And so then having
Facebook post.
Yeah. Then having no friends, I'm like, well, hey babe, these guys, I mean, they're obnoxious and they're giant they're giant ogres.
Yeah, he was like, they're
but
huge. He was like, I was kind of intimidated walking up.
well, you
only
walk up and they're
5'6".
walls of men. I'm 5 foot, 125 pounds, and people will learn my heart would fit your guys' body. But you guys are monsters of men, and here I am showing up to a tryout where no one else is really there, and we're going to play paintball. So they start handing me a gun and say, okay, go to the other side of the field. Here we go. And so, but we just
Round one.
clicked. Yeah, we just
Come on,
clicked.
let's see what you got.
And I showed up in my shirt for the book, ATF. I showed up because I made a shirt for the book that I
I
wrote.
did like that shirt.
Yeah, and so like I'm like, okay, maybe I'll spread some God into the paintball industry. Like who knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
But we had no friends, and so I'm like, well, he has a wife. Like let's invite him over and just hang out and see what happens. And so yep.
every time they were over, I found myself cussing more and just like, and they would never come to church with us. And we were going to church and stuff. And I hated that Heavenly did not believe, because like I had no one to talk about God with. And that was like the friendship I was yearning for, was someone who actually like could talk about God and like,
Well,
that
especially
kind of
since
friendship.
God was so involved in every
Yeah,
aspect of our
every
lives.
aspect of our lives.
We just wrote the book, all of it. Like it was
so it wasn't
all
like-
God. So you can't share 90% of your life with this friend. So you got to like.
Yeah, they hated
Fine,
when we
don't
talked
wanna talk
about
about
God,
God,
or
so-
brought up God, and like, and so
It wasn't a
I hated
hate.
it.
It wasn't a hate. It was
just-
an
No, the hurt. There was
annoyance.
yeah, because you had there like Paul, there was a thorn in your side.
Yeah,
The devil had
yeah.
stuck it there, and so every time it got brought up, it brought up that old pain and trauma.
Yeah.
Now we know that God has turned and used all that stuff for good, but at that time it was that
Well,
thorn
and
being
especially
stuck.
you had a really hard childhood as well, and so your hurt came from like, how could God let that happen to me? Like if there was a God, like, and so your mindset, which I'm sure some people watching might have that same thing, like how could God let all these bad things happen, and he's real, like, and so, but from that I even had mentioned to Ryan, like, should we be hanging out with these worldly people who are obviously influencing me to cuss and not influencing me in the right direction? Let's just put it that
Well,
way.
yeah, because there's sayings like bad company corrupts good character, and so like you want to love, and love is very difficult, and we can get into those kind of other explanations later. But it was this choice, like we love these people, we want to keep hanging out with them, but is this a godly thing? Are we
fruitful,
hurting
yeah.
ourselves or not? Like because we're trying to
'Cause I
learn to
honestly
do the right
didn't
thing.
think you guys were ever gonna come to God.
Well,
I-
Drunk Monkey flat out told us, I
Yeah.
am not ever going to be a Christian. You are not. I am a pagan for life.
yeah.
I feel that
Now
it
look
was.
at him.
I feel like our friendship was the true start of Rebels Reborn.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Absolutely.
Well, and something too that I don't know if I told you guys this, but at the same time, you guys were praying for friends. I was too. Like I wanted someone that I could smoke with and be
Well,
able,
yeah, share,
She
talk,
had been living
grow.
in the country for a year with no friends.
So and
Yeah.
so had we across the street.
And so
Seriously, I could throw a rock and hit your
I had
house.
gotten to the point though, I was like, man, like, I just don't think she's ever gonna come, and like, like, I don't think it's a friendship that like I'm looking for, because I want to talk about God and grow and like, and
I think it's what we needed.
yeah. And so,
I truly do.
but in that season, I was like, babe, like, we're just gonna invite them to church until they either
Yeah,
stop
that's what our
talking to
decisions
us,
like. Then it's not on us. We'll just like annoy you
Or-
until you're like, screw those little people. We don't like them.
all they do is talk about God.
Yeah.
Like,
And now,
So
you're,
we'll
and
let-
now you guys are some of our
Well,
best friends.
it lets
now-
God fight the battle for us.
It really is.
well, and that's that's like the whole transformation of it is once you guys surrendered and all of that, like me
The
and
amount
you
of
are
growth.
like unbreakable. Nothing is gonna come between us. Like
Yeah.
our friendship
It's
is
gotten stronger.
so strong. because
Every spat you have, it makes you guys stronger.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It grows. It grows us and it shows the boundaries. Even though we've known each other, I haven't really opened up to you because like my stories and everything I talk about is God related. So I always feel like I was pushing God on you and like, and at a point you can't throw a Bible at someone and expect them to believe. And so at a certain
Maybe
point,
I needed that though.
Well, at the same point, that
I
walk
didn't want to
with
push
love
it though, and
is
so
a
we were
give
just
and
kind of
take.
friends, but it wasn't on the level that I desperately needed with
Yeah.
someone and healing, like the healing journey me and you have been walking out.
The amount of
that-
growth, both of you
I
guys,
mean,
like
you
the
went
fruit.
from, just kind of seeing you guys every, I think even about a year ago, it was only like once a week that we would
Yeah.
see you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now it's like
Because I needed
I
more.
see you
Every
every
day.
single
Our
day.
kids, like we can't. Our lives are intertwined, and God has done all of that, and He did it with a purpose, and He did it by
Yeah.
walking it out. Because even like as Sassy was saying, we were praying. Okay, God, we want to do Your work. We just want to do the right thing. We're learning to do the right thing, and if bad company corrupts good
Just want
character,
people to do it with.
yeah, exactly. And so it was all a part of the process, and so we all together got to walk out God's love, and this is the fruit that got developed
But
from
even
it.
in the revelation of that, tell them about, what you explained to me about the wheat and the weeds.
Yeah, and that's a big part of what that season was about, even in praying, was there's a story in the Bible where this king is throwing a wedding feast, and so he invites all his neighbors, all the people, all his friends, and they all somehow cancel. They all have reasons, don't do this. So he sends his servants out and says, go get all these people off the street. Right? And so the servants do that. They have a house full. But then some of the other servants are coming around and they go to the king and they say, hey, there's people, they're not wearing their wedding garments. They're basically underdressed. They're ill prepared. They are standing out. They're not doing the right thing.
Scrubs and rags.
Yes, they're not doing the right thing. And they're like, should we go remove them? And the king says, no, don't do that, And so it feeds into the story of what Jesus is talking about in the parable is there is the chaff and then the weeds.
Yep.
And so he will come and clear the weeds and then the chaffs as well. And so what we've learned is it's not up to me to have to decide who is good enough or not good enough. It's for me to walk out God's love and love them to the best of my ability any chance I can until God decides what the next step is. And we've watched him where situations were becoming unfruitful and he removed them. Not anything we did. We didn't start acting a certain way or cut them out. All of a sudden, the person or the situation that was happening, the other side had the same heart of this is not. And so and all ended amicably because God did it.
Yeah.
Not because we let our flesh get ahead of ourselves or, kind of get in the way. And so,
once he explained that to me, I'm like, yeah, like it might not be, we can't talk about God, but we can smoke together.
and we can show you what the love of Jesus
Yeah.
looks like, at least, if
And
that's
even
all
in
we
the
can do.
healing, I believe that's where it started with me and you, was like you sharing your story with me. And like, then I was like,
Her
wow.
first connection with you was her first big breakdown. First breakdown she ever had here
Yeah.
was when she connected with you.
Yeah.
I think it was about Liliana.
Yeah.
And
Dealing with
Man,
the
and you guys have
constant
experienced a
transportation.
lot since then,
Yeah.
too.
And then after we had both kind of realized, like, because you didn't like lose her, but like that still same connection of she wasn't with you, and I had lost my son too. Like,
yeah.
God knows what he's doing when he
Yeah.
brings
Getting
us
her once
together.
a month.
yeah,
and
that's what it was.
That was the hardest
Yeah.
thing for me in my whole life, and to trust the process that came with it and
Yeah.
everything that came after what had happened. I'm not gonna, blast anything and talk
Right.
about that kind of stuff on any kind of, platform. It's not my story to
Yeah.
tell. But
we connected.
Yeah,
And
and
that's what really,
I think that's when, I was having a really hard time because one, she was like 5 hours away.
Yeah.
And then the other part was I don't drive. Like I know how to drive, but I don't have a license. I don't really care to have one. It's a big trigger from having an accident as a
Yeah.
kid. Like my mom was T-boned, and if I would have been on the opposite side and would have hit the floor, it would have killed me instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I came out of it untouched, but very terrified. Like if I were to sleep in the car and my mom were to even softly hit the brakes, I would pop up like,
yeah.
Yep.
And-
God's hand at work even when we don't know it, even
And
at a
so
young age.
even the story of like they're never gonna come to God, and look at all of us now. Like
yeah.
we are so much stronger, and like it was not us pushing the Bible on you or anything. It was like Ryan said, we just loved you guys.
And sometimes
He
that's all
loved
you
me
can
for
do.
me, and that's all I needed.
Yeah.
And I think that, kind of helped push me more closer to God and to, find somebody that kind of understood, but, also wasn't
Yeah.
trying to judge. Like,
Right.
I think one of my biggest connectors when it came to giving myself again was you're always being able to connect scripture to a life situation.
Anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
I love that
Let's make
about
that
you,
very
too.
clear. Anything.
And yeah, and that's not from me. That's from God, and that just comes from the experiences we've lived through. You just literally, and I think that might be a correspondence that a lot of people don't kind of see as they're reading through some of the stories. But
Yeah.
it's not just what they did, the Goliath and fighting that, but even some of the other ones. It's the experiences that they felt during that stuff, and so. For me to correlate life experience with stories in the Bible, that just kind of happened naturally, and I give that all to God. Let alone, like, if you ride in the car for me, like, I can hold it in long enough, but it's some form is just going to come out of me just as it
But it
happens.
helped us to understand it, because it's like we can't relate to something Old Testament that happened years ago that doesn't even like have anything to do with us now. But then once you throw in a story about how we are living in our manna season, and the little bits that we get each day is literally manna in the Bible, when you correlate those life situations with actual like manna in the Bible, it becomes real, and then you can understand it better.
Yeah, and then not only that, understand God's heart, which helps you not wander around the mountain for 40 years. And that's what I'm hoping we do, or inspire, or give away to anybody, is that, when you break it simply down, it all comes down to love. And the greatest of those out of faith, hope, is love. But walking that out is difficult. But doing it by just simply choosing to do it with God can make all the difference in the world. Now, that's not going to mean that on any given day, your world can't feel like it's just falling apart. Absolutely. What learning to walk with God helps us do is understand that there's purpose behind it. And so in my book, I would inspire people to look it up. The formula for God-given peace came through my pain and struggle, but that's what needed to happen to help me understand that, just like Joseph and Noah and all these people in the Bible, what they went through, even the process and the pain was part of the purpose. So every bad day I've ever had, anytime I've got myself in trouble, all of it all felt torture to me, but was serving a purpose in his eyes once he helped me understand what could be done with all that brokenness. And so when we say, as a motto from the book, from Rebels Reborn, when we say bring the broken, my heart always and so strongly feels that the people who've experienced the most brokenness have the most that they can do right now in what is a very broken world. I love the church. It's a system. They got it. There's some that are inwardly focused, and there's some that are doing outreach. It's there. But what Jesus needed, he sent his disciples out. Go find those that are at the end of the road and need that love. And so our understanding of our brokenness gives us power. So if you're broken, if you've gone through broken experiences, contact us, reach out, make friends, follow us. Like I am a social person. I am built to make friends. And that's why I was so good at partying back in the day, and all the fun stories you'll hear about me later. But it's the connection that matters, that relationship that matters. And so when we were all praying for what God has blessed us with, and I'm excited for you to meet the rest that aren't here, when God started blessing with us, the love and the purpose behind it and how much it mattered all came with it, all tied up in a bow, because God knows exactly what he's doing.
Not
And
only
so,
a community, but a family.
a family. It's a family. And so this world is crazy and as hard as it is. So we might as well do this craziness together, support each other. Because like some of us, we grew up in foster care. We grew up where I moved out by 16 because I had my own troubles. And so you experience the world very differently. And that doesn't discount or make anybody else's experiences more important or better than the others, but it makes it all matter because right now somebody out there is suffering and you have the ability to help them. And so Rebels Reborn is here to be exactly that.
Reach out.
Amen.
Yeah. And so with that, closing prayer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Amen. So, Father, I just want to thank you for this time. Your glory, your word, your promises, all of it that we've watched be fulfilled. We hope to share and inspire that into anybody that happened to listen to this. But more so than that, I thank you for the time. These kind of conversations, any conversation that has to do with you and your love is worth anything else that we could have been doing. And so we just thank you for the opportunity to bring your name here to this table and into our ministry. And so we hope and inspire that your love is worth the effort and that searching for you and starting to knock is where real life begins, Lord. So thank you. I ask that you go forth and you bless this week for us, that you bless this week for those who are listening and even the ones that don't get the opportunity. Let them start seeing and finding your heart in the world around them, because once people get the chance to get to know you, Lord, everything changes. And so that's all we want to do. And like the talents and the knowledge that you've given us, we want to give it away, because if we can find the peace that surpasses all understanding, if we can live this humbly and so close to you that regardless of what we're going through, we know we're going to find a victory. If we can share that with anybody, we thank you for the opportunity. So it's in Jesus' name that I pray that you share this and you watch over us, and just being thankful for being here for us. A big amen.
Amen.
Amen.